This is Al Jazeera.
$10 hours GMT here on Al Jazeera. I'm Kamal Santamaria. Welcome to the News Hour. All around the world, countries are seeing COVID-19 infections and deaths rising again to record numbers. Governments are also trying to tackle the new Omicron variant, though the Delta variant does remain dominant in most places for now. So let's take you through some of the latest news lines we are getting this Tuesday. South Korea, first of all, which has had its worst day of the pandemic, 94 deaths on Tuesday. The Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency said a record 906 people were also in a serious or critical condition. Really, the medical system there reaching its limit, with the Delta-driven spread leaving some people actually dying while waiting for a hospital bed. Democratic Republic of Congo, where the president is urging people to get vaccinated as infections rise. It comes as health officials confirmed cases of the Omicron variant. The nation has one of the world's lowest vaccination rates, and we'll look more at that shortly. And in the UK, politicians are questioning scientists. This is a live stream here about the Omicron variant of COVID-19. Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced what is believed to be the world's first confirmed death of a patient from that new variant. That was on Monday. And in the coming hours, Parliament is expected to discuss and vote on possible new restrictions. Off we go to London. Start things off with Paul Brennan. Are those all people queuing up for vaccines behind you there?
That's right. We're at St Thomas's Hospital on the south side of the River Thames, just across the river, actually, from Westminster, where those proceedings with the politicians and the scientists is going on right now. You can probably hear an ambulance that's just about to go past me.
I want to return to Democratic Republic of Congo in some more detail now, because the president seems to have quite a job on his hands when it comes to getting people vaccinated. Got the charts from our World and Data here just to give you a little bit of context. So this is daily confirmed new cases. The other day, we're looking at a little over 200 cases a day, which doesn't sound like a huge amount, but look down the bottom. It was really bottoming out only just a couple of weeks ago. Now, vaccines is where it gets interesting. You can very simply see here that Africa as a whole is not getting vaccinated. This is the DRC right in the middle there. That colour, that beige colour, puts it in the 0 to 10% of people vaccinated. But it's much worse than that. Have a look at this. Daily COVID vaccine doses per 100 people. That number up there is less than one person per 100 every day getting vaccinated. That is how low the ratio is. And when you look at it in these terms, which is the people who have received at least one dose, this number up here is 0.2%. 0.2% of the population in Democratic Republic of Congo has had just one dose of a vaccine. Malcolm Webb now for us in Nairobi to take us through some of these things. What is the story, Malcolm? Is it a supply issue, not enough vaccines, or it is a demand issue? People don't want to get them. Right. Joining us, Chris Smith, consultant virologist at Cambridge University, the presenter of the Naked Scientists podcast on Skype from Cambridge. And Chris, we really want to get into this whole issue of Omicron, basically. Now, I'm going to show our viewers a graph here, and I sent it to you a little bit earlier. This has come from nextstrain.org. Just for some perspective, all of these blue dots here, if we think of this as the whole pandemic, that is Delta on its own. This red blob here, red collection of dots, that is Omicron. It is, Chris, very small at this stage. Now, I know it can grow just as every other variant did, but does the panic, even the media coverage, I'll put us in there as well, does it warrant the situation?
Well, let's wind the clock back to last month, to the beginning of November, because that is when South Africa first detected this variant.
South Africa's largest private insurance company actually is saying this new variant is now making up the most of the new cases in the country, as you mentioned there. Just have a little listen to this for us, a media briefing only about an hour ago with South Africa's top medical research council.
Through the surveillance done by the Network for Genomic Surveillance in South Africa, you can see indicated in red on this chart how the Omicron variant is now dominating infections.
So when we hear that, and when we hear what you just said as well, Chris, does it almost, I'll use this term loosely, justify what governments are doing? Because a lot of people, they look at Boris Johnson and Sajid Javid the other day talking about Omicron becoming the dominant variant and a tidal wave, I think Boris Johnson said, and it creates a bit of panic. Certainly that sort of talk does, but maybe it's better to err on the side of caution.
Governments in many countries and of many colours have been criticised heavily earlier in the pandemic because they delayed. People said, if you'd gone sooner, if you'd had a crystal ball, if you'd had a time machine, I'm being facetious there, but if you had gone sooner, you could have acted sooner, you could have saved enormous numbers of lives.
There's so much focus on government mandates and COVID passes and mandatory vaccinations and all these things. Does a lot of it, or should a lot of it, just come down to some common sense? Some personal responsibility, keep wearing a mask, keep thinking about what you're doing, limit your travel, all those sorts of things. That will all help.
You're talking to the guy that started a radio programme called the Common Sense Coronavirus Falling.
Brilliant.
So,
exactly.
Yes, I think really common sense is what's unfortunately not as common as we wish it was.
Chris Smith with some common sense on COVID. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
15 minutes past this news hour, here's what's coming up. On his first stop of an Asia-Pacific tour, the US Secretary of State reaffirms America's commitment to push back against Chinese influence. A UN report blames police for the deaths of 11 people during protests in Colombia last year. And in sport, we'll hear from Australia's first Test hero as his team gets ready to take on England in Adelaide.